Here we go, the Champions League is moving to Portugal for a single match elimination tournament where all it takes, as I said in the Europa League video, is 3 consecutive victories in order to get a hold of old big ears. Hey, I'm Adrian, and here's a preview for you. That's it. Nothing else in this intro. Lyon versus Man City, two teams that are very familiar with each other after they were in the same group last season, and at that time, Lyon gave City a lot of trouble. Those two matches were the only times that they had met in their history, so to say that Lyon are undefeated against City, they've only played each other twice. But still, they tied 2-2 in France, and Lyon beat City at the Etihad 2-1, so there's that. Lyon will perhaps count themselves a bit lucky to have made it past Juve, as I personally thought the penalty that was awarded to them in the first 10 minutes was never a penalty. Not sure how that decision still stood. I would have said that maybe Agnelli had paid the referee to help Lyon so that they could sack Sarri, but that decision was made long ago, so forget that. Mind you, the penalty that was awarded to Juve as well, I didn't love that one either. Domestically, Lyon of course ended up in 7th in this condensed, unfinished Ligue 1 season, so not much to remember as far as their league play goes, but they did make it to the final of the French League Cup, ultimately falling in a shootout to PSG after a goalless draw. Lyon actually looked quite decent against PSG. PSG barely showed up in that one, and while they lost the second leg against Juventus, they still will need to be taken seriously against Manchester City. They haven't been as inspiring as perhaps you would hope, but they have shown how frustrating they can be, and they certainly possess some extremely talented players such as Houssem Aouar, who a lot of teams are in for apparently this summer, Memphis Depay, Bruno Guimaraes has been great at controlling the midfield for them since he has arrived. Moussa Dembele has started playing to his potential. He scored a lot of goals in Ligue 1, 16 goals I believe. I do worry about their flanks however when it comes to defending, and I think that's an area where City can hurt them from those wide positions. For Pep, in regards to Lyon, it's a fool me twice, shame on me situation, so to fail to beat them in a tournament setup where City are just 3 wins away from becoming champions of Europe, now that would be something, with Lyon being his bogey team confirmed. Can you imagine? 3 matches against Lyon with City, 0 wins? I can't see it. But anyways, yeah, if City utilize their flanks to their advantage, whether that's Sterling drifting wide, or Bernardo, or Cancelo, or whoever, once they get in behind those Lyon fullbacks, it's going to be big trouble. Juventus, in my opinion, doesn't ever use their flanks enough, so they didn't exploit that weakness in Lyon's game. But Pep and City, they're a different animal. On top of that, they've only lost once in their last 17 Champions League matches. They've just eliminated the champions of Spain, Real Madrid, by beating them 2-1 in each leg. Of course, they were very fortunate in that a player of Varane's stature had one of his career worst performances in that match in particular, and gifted City 2 goals. Of course, that was a factor for them succeeding, but I still think that overall City were deserving of going through. My personal pick, I think there's just too much quality in the City side for Lyon to make it into the semifinals. I think Lyon's 3-5-2 formation will frustrate them, but with the likes of Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne pulling the strings, City will find a way through and a way into the semis. Now here is an interesting match. After Leipzig made relatively light work of Tottenham in the round of 16, they certainly caught the attention of those who had still been sleeping on them. I like this team, as longtime subscribers will know of my admiration for Marcel Sabitzer in particular, though the loss of Timo Werner cannot be understated in my opinion. Yes, they still have quality, as they have shown throughout this Champions League campaign. Other players certainly are capable of scoring, but he's still a net loss. No one scores as regularly as him within that squad. He still demands more attention than whoever will be replacing him in Nagelsmann's attack, you know? Speaking of their other quality players, it's about time that Christopher Nkunku shows up for Leipzig in the Champions League, where he hasn't been involved in a single goal yet. A shame, considering he scored 5 and assisted 13 in the Bundesliga. And speaking of the Bundesliga, their season didn't end in the scintillating form that fans would have hoped for. Despite only losing once, their inability to get results over the line, aka far too many draws, dragged their final position down to 3rd. With all the time off though, it will feel like a new beginning, as opposed to being the end cap to their previous Bundesliga season. I mean, they'll be kicking off the next Bundesliga season in about a month now. But the problem is, Nagelsmann and the boys are coming up against a man who has never lost a Champions League knockout tie that Cristiano Ronaldo was not involved in. Now, does that translate to this single-legged elimination for Simeone and Atletico? Remains to be seen, but the point is, Simeone and his tactics bode very, very well for matches such as this, frustrating his opponents into overcommitting men forward and then hurting them on the counter. We saw them do that against Liverpool. Atletico Madrid, of course, eliminated the holders of the Champions League, as I just said, Liverpool, after they beat them in both legs. 1-0 at home and 3-2 at Anfield. They capitalized on that mistake in the first leg, and they played extremely well at Anfield. A big win for Los Colchoneros, and in Spain, their form has been incredible. Across all competitions, you'd have to go back to February 1st to find Atletico Madrid's last loss. Again, that's across all competitions. Their form in the second half of the season saw them crawl up from around 6th, 7th when football returned to finish in 3rd place, again with their trademark defensive solidity. Goals have been harder to come by for Atletico Madrid, I'd say in the past 2 seasons really, but it's always felt like a matter of time before they start clicking and becoming the punishing team they once were. And with Llorente now playing as sort of a forward, watch out, as Liverpool know. This is uncharted territory for Leipzig, and perhaps the one-off match format will suit them, as their lack of experience, their youthful exuberance at this stage, could help them to play without fear to overcome Atletico Madrid. But for me personally, Atletico Madrid and Simeone know exactly how to win these kinds of matches, and I personally see Atletico grinding out a win against a frustrated RB Leipzig side. Speaking of uncharted territory, this is Atalanta's debut Champions League campaign, and they haven't looked any different in Europe than they have domestically, where goals flow with ease. And you can see the smile trying to creep onto my face when I speak of Atalanta. In the round of 16, they slapped up Valencia 8-4 on aggregate, and of course, they made it to the round of 16 by beating and eliminating Shakhtar from the competition with a 3-0 win in Ukraine on the last day. This is after losing their first 3 matches of the group stage. It's crazy. Since then, they have seemingly gotten better and better, and the COVID break didn't break their stride at all as Atalanta surged up the rankings, ultimately settling in 3rd in the Serie A, scoring 98 goals in the process, 17 more than the second top scorers, Inter. So, going forward is no problem, as they have exhibited in both the Champions League and the Serie A, and the danger doesn't stop when they sub off their starters, as guys like Malinovsky, who's trying to break every ball he sees, and Muriel have shown that they are just as potent as the players they replace. Even more so in Muriel's case sometimes. Duvan Zapata has been in a rich scoring vein again this season. Papu Gomez has been pulling the strings brilliantly behind him as he racked up the assists this season with 16 in the Serie A and 2 in the Champions League. I have an entire video dedicated to why you should be watching Atalanta, so be sure to check that out if you're still in need of getting to know them a little bit. PSG are no slouches either when it comes to the attacking department though. They will have to deal with the suspension to Di Maria and the potential that Kylian Mbappe won't be fit enough before Wednesday's matchup in Lisbon, but there's still Neymar, Julian Draxler is still there, and Icardi to contend with. Even though the Ligue 1 season was abandoned, PSG have played a couple cup finals in the last few weeks. They really labored to a League Cup victory over Lyon in a shootout, and then they labored all the same against Saint Etienne as well. There wasn't the kind of dominant performances you would expect of PSG, I mean, Saint Etienne was flirting with relegation by the time the season was abandoned, and Loic Perrin of Saint Etienne was sent off in the 31st minute. And PSG didn't score after that. Luckily, they scored before that, so they won 1-0, but it wasn't exactly convincing from PSG. What was convincing, however, was their unified front against Borussia Dortmund in what feels like centuries ago now, in the second leg of the round of 16 tie. That was a great PSG performance to lift them out of the round of 16 and into the quarterfinals for the first time in 4 years. They finally got that monkey off of their back. Had they choked and Dortmund eliminated them, given their history, nobody would have been surprised by that, So it's big of them to make it through, finally. Now, the question is, can they keep it going against Atalanta? Can they deal with Atalanta's wide players like Hatboer and Gosens causing havoc? Can their midfield keep up with De Roon and Freuler? Can their center backs deal with the physicality and movement of Duvan Zapata? That remains to be seen. And conversely, You worry for Atalanta a bit if Neymar is given the space to run at their back line and get himself into one-on-one situations where he'll always be the favorite to come out on the other side of it with the ball. Atalanta's defense is what worries me the most, but in saying that, this is a hard one to call, as PSG's defense isn't exactly impenetrable either, especially for a team like Atalanta that has been able to unlock countless defenses this season and to great effect. So, it should be a great match. I'm perhaps looking forward to this one more than Barcelona-Bayern. That's arguable. But anyways, will PSG continue to push on to the semifinals for the first time since 1995 after securing a domestic treble? Or will the entertaining underdogs continue their Cinderella story? I personally am going for the latter, but that will surprise nobody who's seen my Atalanta propaganda on Twitter and even during the weekend recap as well. And now for no doubt the tie that will have the most eyes on it from a neutral point of view, the German champions taking on the runners-up from La Liga. And while Barcelona is not the team they used to be and they have had troubles finding themselves throughout the season, you can't sleep on a team that has the sort of attacking quality Barcelona possesses. We'd be fools to do so. But even in me saying that right now, I still get that feeling of you can't really trust Barcelona this season. They're a very strange side. They've lost a bit of themselves over the last few seasons. They've aged a lot, but despite all of that, Lionel Messi is still performing. He was unlucky to have a goal called back in the second leg against Napoli, where he showed he's still lethal with the ball at his feet, as if anyone had doubted him, but... But for Barcelona so far this season, the glittering performances haven't been the norm. They've been the exception for the most part, as they've had plenty of migraine-inducing performances under both Setien and Valverde before him. At times, it feels as though nothing has changed under Setien. The tactics have been uninspired, and the results even less so at times, but there are signs that Setien has figured things out, at least in the attack, which was one of the biggest questions for Valverde once Griezmann had arrived. As we saw against Napoli and in a few matches in La Liga to close out the season, with Griezmann getting moved from the left flank to the pocket behind Suarez, while Messi goes from at times playing next to Suarez for a front two to drifting a bit deeper and wider to the right flank. For the most part, Griezmann and Messi stay out of each other's way, which was a big issue, and Griezmann gets to play in a role that's more suited to him, closer to what he was doing at Atletico. The midfield is actually looking decent. Frankie de Jong returning is huge, as I thought he was great in that second leg against Napoli. I thought Rakitic was good, but they'll also have Busquets available to them as well. Defensively, things aren't too bad either. Lenglet has been playing well, and as long as Piqué is there, Barcelona defend quite well. He doesn't have the legs he used to, and with both Alba and Semedo venturing forward, this could cause issues in transition, but Barcelona are still all the better with him in the lineup, no doubt about it. As for Bayern, since Hansi Flick has taken over, it has been non-stop winning, pretty much, besides a couple blips early. Bayern Munich hasn't lost a match since January 11th, and they're currently on an 18-match winning streak across all competitions. Not unbeaten, winning. They rarely concede, as Flick has set up the defense well, where Boateng and Alaba partner centrally. Though Boateng did go off injured in the last match against Chelsea, but Niklas Süle is a worthy replacement for sure, as is Luka Hernandez. We'll see if Benjamin Pavard can get back soon. The midfield duo of either Kimmich or Thiago, or Kimmich and Goretzka, or Thiago and Goretzka, they've been great behind Thomas Müller, providing the cover that back line will need, and then they have pace to burn in the wide positions, whether it's Gnabry, Alphonso Davies, Kingsley Coman, whoever. When Coman isn't injured, of course. I've been incredibly impressed by this Bayern side and haven't even mentioned Robert Lewandowski yet. The man who would have been the favorite for the Ballon d'Or had they not scrapped it for the season. He scored over a goal per game in the Bundesliga. Best striker in the world right now. So let's see how he does against Barcelona's back line. A winning result has never really been in question for Bayern for a long time now. Each time they take to the pitch, you expect them to win, and they're almost getting stronger as time goes on, somehow. Despite not playing for nearly a month, they still rolled over Chelsea 4-1 in the home leg, beating them 7-1 on aggregate, as Bayern are definitely the best team in London. They beat Arsenal, 10-2 on aggregate. They beat Tottenham 10-3 over 2 round-robin matches and beat Chelsea 7-1. Insane. And Lewandowski was involved in every single one of the 7 goals that they scored against Chelsea. What? Barcelona doesn't have a great record against Bayern, as they have only won 3 times in 11 attempts. Back in 2013, Bayern beat Barcelona 7-0 on aggregate, truly a different time. And to be fair to Barcelona, they then beat Bayern 5-3 on aggregate 2 years later. But still, the varying degrees of form from these two teams is enough for me personally to tip the scales in Bayern's favor. And that's all, guys. We'll be doing watch-alongs for most of the matches, so be sure to join us for one of those this week. It's always a good time. Other than that, I'm Adrian. This is Rabona TV. I thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.